Rebecca tossed her keys on the kitchen counter, that turquoise keychain catching the morning light, and told me she was 8 weeks pregnant. I froze, dish towel in my hands, coffee getting cold. 8 weeks. She smiled. That practice smile she used when announcing good news at women's ministry events. I know, right? I was shocked too, but the doctor confirmed it yesterday. I did the math in my head. Pastors are good at numbers, attendance, tithes, dates. 8 weeks back from today put conception around late July. 8 weeks, I repeated. My voice sounded far away. Marcus, aren't you excited? She was already pulling something from her purse. A photograph, black and white, that slick thermal paper that curls at the edges, an ultrasound. Look, there's our baby. I took it. The paper was still warm from her purse. August 28th, 2025, printed at the top, 8 weeks gestation. I stared at the gray, fuzzy image. Barely anything there, just shadows and curves that required faith to see as human. This is wonderful, she said, her hand on my arm. God's timing, right? With the senior pastor election coming up, imagine announcing this to the congregation. The perfect pastor family, growing. The perfect pastor family. I set the ultrasound down carefully on the counter, next to her keys, next to that turquoise keychain I'd never seen before. Plastic, cheap, silver engraving, Breckenridge 2025. When did you get that? I asked, pointing. She glanced down. Oh, the retreat. Women's ministry trip to Colorado, remember? We stopped at a gift shop. July. The women's retreat. July 15th and 19th. I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened my calendar, scrolled back. July 18th to 25. Indiana Pastors Conference. My hands weren't shaking yet. That would come later. Right now, everything felt very clear, very cold, very mathematical. I was in Indiana, I said quietly. What? 8 weeks back. That's late July, July 20th, roughly. I looked up at her. I was in Indiana, giving a workshop on marriage ministry. She blinked. Well, it's not exact science, Marcus. Doctors estimate... I was gone for a week, the entire conception window. My voice was flat, clinical. I gave a workshop on Saturday, July 19th, Building Marriages That Last. 300 people attended. I have the attendance records. Rebecca's smile didn't move, but something behind her eyes did. You're being paranoid, she said. The dates aren't that precise. Maybe it was the week before. I was at church camp with the youth group the week before. July 11th, 15, 60 teenagers, 24-hour supervision. Emily was there. You drove us to the camp. Silence. The kitchen clock ticked. Our refrigerator hummed. Somewhere down the street, someone started a lawnmower. Are you accusing me of something? Her voice had changed, sharper now. I looked at the ultrasound again, then at the keychain, that hollow plastic sound it had made when it hit the counter, the tiny ski charm dangling from it. I need to get to the church, I said. Sunday service prep. I walked out, left her standing in our kitchen, left the ultrasound on the counter, left the turquoise keychain catching the light. The sanctuary was empty when I arrived, too early even for the sound team. Just me and 1,200 empty chairs, and the stained glass windows letting in that early October sun. I stood at the pulpit, my pulpit. The brass microphone was cold when I touched it. Heavy bass. Grace Community Church logo engraved right there where my thumb rested. My burgundy leather Bible sat on the pulpit ledge, worn, gold-edged pages. My name embossed on the cover, Marcus Jonathan Hayes. I'd carried this Bible for 15 years, since seminary. The leather was soft now, broken in. It smelled like old pages and decisions, 8 weeks pregnant. I opened the Bible, not to any particular verse, just needed to touch something familiar. The pages made that crisp rustling sound, like certainty, like truth you could hold in your hands. My phone buzzed. A text from Pastor Reeves. Ready for the big announcement this Sunday? Congregations excited to hear about the senior pastor election. 6 weeks until that election. 6 weeks until the congregation voted between me and Thomas Fletcher for senior pastor, the position I'd worked toward for 12 years, the perfect pastor family. Another text. This one from Emily. Dad, can you pick me up early from youth worship practice? Need to talk. Emily. 16, our daughter, my daughter. The girl who looked at me like I hung the moon, who wore that silver purity ring I gave her at 13, the one engraved, true love waits. The one that symbolized everything I'd taught her about marriage, about faithfulness, about keeping promises before God. How was I supposed to tell her? I heard footsteps. Jennifer Kim, our church secretary, came through the side door. 34, efficient. The person who actually kept this church running while we pastors got the credit. Morning, Pastor Marcus. She set her coffee down, noticed my face. You okay? Fine, just prep. She didn't believe me. Jennifer had worked here for 8 years. She knew when something was wrong. The attendance reports are ready for your review, she said. And I need to ask you something about the budget request from women's ministry for the Colorado retreat expenses. I looked up. There's a discrepancy, Jennifer continued, pulling out her laptop. Rebecca submitted the final expense report, but one of the receipts doesn't match the retreat schedule. She turned the screen toward me. A credit card receipt, thermal paper, crumpled, then photographed, from Rebecca's personal card, Altitude Bar and Grill, Breckenridge, Colorado, July 24th, 2025, $187.50. The itemization was clear. 2 entrees, 4 cocktails. The women's retreat ended July 19th, Jennifer said carefully. This is July 24th, and it's for 2 people. My throat was dry. Where did you get this? It was in the church van. I found it when I was cleaning out the vehicle last week. I thought maybe someone stayed behind for personal vacation, but then I saw it was Rebecca's card and... She stopped. I shouldn't have shown you. I'm sorry. It's none of my business. No. My voice came out steadier than I felt. You did right. Jennifer hesitated, then reached for her laptop again. There's something else. I wasn't snooping, I promise. But when I was trying to cross-reference the dates, I looked at social media. The women's ministry tagged their retreat photos, and then I saw... Well, she pulled up Instagram. A profile. Tyler Bradford. The name meant nothing to me, but the photos did. July 23rd, Breckenridge Resort, mountains in the background. Tyler, young, maybe late 20s, athletic build, ski instructor vest, standing next to a backpack. And hanging from that backpack, clearly visible in the sunlight, a turquoise keychain, Breckenridge 2025, with a tiny ski charm, the same one sitting on my kitchen counter right now. I don't know what this means, Jennifer said quietly. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe they just went to the same gift shop. But combined with the receipt, she closed the laptop. Pastor Marcus, I'm so sorry. I stared at the closed laptop screen. My reflection looked back. Distorted. Wrong. Thank you, Jennifer. I managed, and for showing me. She nodded, gathered her things, paused at the door. If you've ever discovered something you wished you could unsee, evidence that changed everything, just know you're not alone. Sometimes knowledge is its own punishment. She left. I sat there in the empty sanctuary. The sun moved across the stained glass, red, blue, gold, fragments of colored light on the pews. My phone buzzed again. Rebecca, we need to talk about the announcement. I'm thinking we tell the congregation this Sunday, during testimony time, our miracle baby. Our miracle baby. I looked at the pulpit microphone. The brass was warming up now in the sunlight. This microphone, this pulpit, this church, 1,200 people who trusted me, who came to me for counseling, for wisdom, for truth. How was I supposed to stand up here in 5 days and lie? Dinner that night was quiet. The 3 of us around the table, spaghetti, Emily's favorite. Emily twirled her fork, that silver purity ring catching the overhead light. So Mom said you have big news. Rebecca smiled, that practiced smile again. We wanted to tell you together, as a family. I cut my meatball, focused on that, the knife, the plate, anything but looking at Emily. You're pregnant? Emily said suddenly. Oh my gosh, Mom, are you pregnant? Rebecca laughed, delighted. How did you know? You've been glowing for like 2 weeks, and you stopped drinking coffee, and Emily jumped up, hugged her mother. This is amazing! A baby! I'm going to be a big sister. She looked at me. Dad, aren't you excited? I set my knife down carefully. Of course. You don't look excited. You look... Emily studied my face. That's the problem with raising a perceptive kid. She saw too much. Are you worried about the timing with the election? No, sweetheart, I'm just processing. Emily sat back down. She twisted that purity ring around her finger, a habit when she was thinking. Dad, can I ask you something? Always. When you married Mom, did you know you'd love her forever? Like, how do you know when it's real, when you're making the right choice? The question hit me like a fist. Rebecca was watching me, carefully. Her hand rested on her stomach. Protective, or possessive. I couldn't tell anymore. Emily, I started. I'm just asking, she continued, because there's this guy at school and everyone says when you know, you know. But how? How do you know you won't change? How do you know the other person won't change? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Your father and I, Rebecca said smoothly, we chose each other every day. That's the secret. Love isn't a feeling, Emily. It's a commitment. Right, Marcus? Right, I whispered. But Emily was still looking at me, still twisting that ring I gave her, that symbol of promises kept. Dad, she prompted, love is... I had to look away. Love is keeping your promises, even when it's hard. Even when the other person doesn't? Emily asked. The question hung there. Especially then, I said, because that's what integrity means. You don't break your word just because someone else broke theirs. Emily nodded slowly. That makes sense. She smiled. That's why I want a marriage like yours someday. You guys are like the example, you know? The real thing. The real thing. I excused myself. Bathroom. I stood over the sink, hands gripping the porcelain. Cold, solid, real. In the mirror, I looked like my father. Same jaw, same eyes. Same expression he wore the year his ministry collapsed. The year the affair came out. The year we lost everything. I'd spent my whole life being different from him. Building the ministry he couldn't keep. Being the faithful husband he couldn't be. The pastor who actually lived what he preached. And now I was the one lying to my daughter at the dinner table. Monday morning, Rebecca found me in my home office. We need to talk, she said, closed the door. I didn't turn around, just kept staring at my computer screen, the sermon outline I'd been staring at for 20 minutes without writing a word. You've been cold since Friday, she said, barely talking, sleeping in the guest room. Have I? Marcus. She came around the desk, perched on the edge. I know what you're thinking. Do you? You're thinking about the dates. You're thinking about Indiana. You're thinking that the timeline doesn't add up. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. Honey, conception dates aren't exact. The doctor said... Jennifer showed me the receipt. Rebecca went very still. From Breckenridge, I continued, July 24th, 5 days after the retreat ended. Altitude Bar and Grill. 2 entrees, 4 cocktails, your credit card. Silence. And she showed me Tyler Bradford's Instagram with the keychain, the same one you bought, the same one sitting on our counter right now. More silence. So, I said, finally turning to look at her, do you want to tell me the truth? Or do we keep pretending? Rebecca's face changed. The mask dropped. What was underneath was colder. Fine, she said. Yes, I stayed in Breckenridge. Yes, I was with Tyler. And yes, the baby is probably his. Probably. But here's what you need to understand, Marcus. She leaned forward. This doesn't have to destroy us. It doesn't have to destroy you. Doesn't have to. We announce the pregnancy Sunday. We tell everyone it's ours. A blessing, a miracle. You adopt the baby legally. Tyler signs away his rights. He doesn't even want to be involved. And we move forward. I stared at her. You want me to lie to the entire congregation. I want you to protect your family, to protect your career, to protect Emily. Her voice dropped. Think about her, Marcus. Think about what this does to her faith if it comes out. Her perfect pastor father, her perfect Christian family, all a lie. It's already a lie. Only if you make it one. Rebecca stood. You announce the pregnancy Sunday. You claim this child, or I'll tell everyone you've been abusive, that the stress of the pastoral election has made you unstable, that I'm afraid of you. My blood went cold. No one would believe, wouldn't they? She smiled. I'm the women's ministry director, Marcus. I counsel women escaping abusive marriages. I know exactly what to say, how to say it, who to say it to. She moved toward the door. And when the church investigates, when they find you sleeping in the guest room, barely speaking to me, acting strange and paranoid. She opened the door. Emily will hate you, Rebecca said quietly. Your mother will be devastated. The senior pastor position will go to Thomas Fletcher, and Grace Community Church will ask you to resign. All because you couldn't accept that marriages aren't perfect, that forgiveness exists. This isn't about forgiveness. You'll announce the pregnancy Sunday, she said. You'll smile. You'll accept congratulations. You'll adopt Tyler's baby and raise it as your own, or I'll destroy everything you've built here. She paused. You have until Sunday morning. Choose, Marcus. The door closed behind her. I sat there. My burgundy Bible was on the desk, next to the ultrasound photo she'd left there, next to my phone with texts from Pastor Reeves about sermon prep. The Bible felt heavier than usual when I picked it up, or maybe my hands were just shaking. Sunday was 5 days away. Wednesday night service, youth group night, usually 300 people, mostly families with teenagers. Emily was leading worship on stage with the youth band. I was at the pulpit going through announcements, trying to sound normal, trying to keep my hands steady on the brass microphone. And don't forget, I said, next week's missions fundraiser needs volunteers for... The side door opened. A man walked in, late 20s, athletic build, confident stride. He wore a Colorado Avalanche hoodie and carried that easy smile of someone who'd never faced real consequences. He sat down, fifth row, right side, looked up at the stage, at Rebecca, who was standing with the other ministry leaders in the front row, smiled, waved. Rebecca's head turned. She saw him. And she smiled back. In God's house, in front of 300 people, in front of our daughter who was on stage singing How Great Thou Art with that silver ring catching the stage lights. I gripped the microphone too hard. My knuckles went white. Pastor Marcus. Someone touched my elbow. Jennifer. You okay? You stopped mid-sentence. I looked down at my notes. The words swam. The missions fundraiser, I said, voice flat. Needs volunteers. Sign up in the lobby. Tyler Bradford sat there through the entire service, through the youth pastor's message, through the closing prayer. And when we dismissed, he walked straight up to Rebecca. They talked, right there in the church lobby, her hand on his arm, him laughing at something she said, casual, comfortable, like they'd done this 100 times. I watched from across the room. Jennifer stood next to me, holding a stack of bulletins. That's him, she whispered, from the Instagram photos. I know. Do you want me to? No. I straightened my shoulders. I'll handle it. But I didn't handle it. I stood there, frozen, watching my wife touch another man's arm in the church lobby while our daughter hugged her youth group friends 10 feet away. Tyler looked over, caught my eye. That smile again. Not malicious, just oblivious. Like this was all perfectly normal. He waved. I walked out the side door instead. Thursday afternoon, Rebecca's mother showed up at my office. Sarah Morrison, 58, the woman who'd raised Rebecca, who'd been in our wedding, who'd held Emily when she was born. She sat across from my desk now, hands folded, calm. "Rebecca told me you found out," she said. I didn't respond. "And she told me you're not handling it well, that you're threatening to blow up the family over one mistake." "One mistake." I leaned back. "That's what we're calling it." "Marcus." Sarah's voice had that patient tone she used with her therapy clients. She was a counselor, specialized in marriage and family. "I know you're hurt, but you need perspective." "Perspective?" This isn't the first time Rebecca has struggled with impulse control. I looked up. Sarah sighed. "She got pregnant in college, too." "Did she tell you that?" The room felt very cold suddenly. "Different father than the one she told at the time," Sarah continued. "She was 19, dating a pre-med student. But there was someone else, someone she met at a party. She got pregnant, told the pre-med student it was his. He found out eventually." She paused. It ended badly. "You knew?" My voice was barely audible. "You knew she'd done this before?" "I thought marrying a pastor would fix her." Sarah met my eyes. "You were stable, moral, good. You were supposed to be the man who made her want to settle down, to be faithful." "I was supposed to fix her." "Yes." No apology in her voice. "And I'm sorry, Marcus, but you failed. She needed more than what you gave her. She needed passion, excitement. You gave her safety, sermons, 1,000 church committee meetings." I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot where Emily was probably finishing volleyball practice. "So this is my fault," I said. "I'm saying," Sarah replied, "that marriages are complicated and forgiveness is biblical." 70 times 7, right? I heard her stand, move closer. "You announce the pregnancy Sunday. You adopt the baby. You give Rebecca another chance. And you work on being the kind of husband who keeps his wife interested." I turned around. "Get out of my office." Sarah's eyebrows rose. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Get out." "I'm trying to help you." "You're trying to convince me that my wife's affair is my failure, that her pattern of lying and manipulation spanning decades is somehow my responsibility to fix." My voice was shaking now. "You enabled her. You probably still are. And you want me to do the same." Sarah's face hardened. "If you don't accept this baby, Marcus, Rebecca will make your life hell." "You know she will. She has the church. She has the sympathy. She has a pattern," I cut in, "of getting pregnant by one man and trapping another, and you just confirmed it. Thank you for that." I opened the office door. "You're making a mistake," Sarah said as she walked out. "For everyone's sake, I hope you reconsider." The door closed. I sat back down at my desk. My burgundy Bible was there. Same place it always was. I opened it without thinking. The pages fell to Proverbs. I read the same verse 3 times without absorbing a single word. Rebecca got pregnant in college, too. Different father. A pattern, not a mistake. A pattern. Friday evening, Emily came home late from school. I heard her go straight to her room. No, "Hi, Dad." No usual chatter about her day. I gave her an hour, then knocked on her door. "Em, you okay?" "Yeah, just tired." "Can I come in?" Silence. Then, "Sure." She was sitting on her bed, my little girl who wasn't so little anymore, 16, almost grown, and she was holding something, a journal, emerald green leather, embossed with a mother's journey. I recognized it immediately, Rebecca's journal, the one the women's ministry gave her when we announced we were trying for a baby last year. The fancy one with thick paper and that leather cover soft enough to trace the embossing with your finger. "I found this in Mom's car," Emily said quietly. "I was looking for my volleyball shoes. This was under the passenger seat." My stomach dropped. Maybe you shouldn't. I already read it. She looked up at me. Her eyes were red. Dad, what is this? I crossed the room, sat next to her on the bed. The journal was open. I could see Rebecca's perfect cursive in purple ink. That handwriting she used for everything. Cards, notes, public-facing documents. Can I see? I asked. Emily handed it to me. Her hands were shaking. I looked at the page, dated 6 months ago, March 2025. Can't stand another year of this perfect Christian wife act. Need someone who makes me feel something. Marcus is drowning in church politics and doesn't even see me anymore. When did I become invisible? I turned the page. April 2025. Marcus is a good man. That's the problem. Good men are boring, predictable, safe. I want to feel alive again before I'm too old, before I'm just the pastor's wife who leads Bible studies and smiles on cue. May 2025. Met someone at the conference prep meeting. Tyler, younger, fit, actually looks at me when I talk. Made me remember what it's like to feel wanted, not needed. June 2025. Told women's ministry we should do Colorado retreat. Convenient. Tyler leads ski trips there. This could work. July 2025. He doesn't know I'm married. Took off my ring for the trip. Told him I'm divorced. It felt good to be someone else for a few days. To not be Rebecca Hayes, perfect pastor's wife. Just, Rebecca, alive, real. The entries went on. Planning, calculating. Exit strategies written in purple ink with little hearts in the margins. I closed the journal. The leather was soft under my fingers. It even smelled like Rebecca, that floral perfume she wore. The scent was embedded in the pages. Dad, Emily's voice broke. This is dated from before the trip. She planned it. All of it. I know, sweetheart. And the baby is the baby. She couldn't finish. I looked at my daughter, at the silver purity ring on her finger that she was twisting round and round, at her face that looked so much like mine, at the absolute devastation in her eyes. If you were in my position, your 16-year-old daughter just found this journal looking at you for answers, would you tell her the truth right now, even though it'll destroy her world? Or would you protect her innocence a bit longer, give her a few more days of not knowing? I'm asking because I genuinely don't know if I made the right choice. I started. Your mother made some choices. Is the baby yours? The question hung there, direct, clear, unavoidable. I could lie right now. I could say yes. Could say the journal was just her processing frustration, that nothing actually happened, that the pregnancy was mine, and we were working through marital issues privately. I could protect her for a little longer, or I could tell her the truth. Yeah, neither option is good. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't leave you good options, just less terrible ones. The timing is complicated, I said carefully. But yes, your mother and I are having problems, and the baby... I had to stop, breathe. The baby might not be mine. Emily made a sound, not quite a sob, just air leaving her lungs. But we're working through it, I continued. The lie tasted like ash. These things happen in marriages. People make mistakes. Forgiveness. Don't. Emily stood up. Don't do that pastor voice. Don't give me the sermon about forgiveness and commitment and working through trials. She was crying now. This isn't a trial, Dad. This is Mom planning an affair for months, writing about it, making exit strategies. She pulled the purity ring off her finger, set it on my desk. This ring, she said, represents keeping promises, being faithful, choosing truth. Her voice cracked. But Mom didn't keep her promises, and now you're asking me to pretend everything's fine? Emily, I can't wear this anymore. She looked at the ring, then at me. Not when the marriage I based my whole understanding of love on was a lie. She walked to the door, stopped. Dad, what does this mean? For us, for the church, for everything? I didn't have an answer. She left. I sat there, holding Rebecca's journal, looking at that silver purity ring on my desk. That ring I gave Emily at her purity ceremony 3 years ago in this very church, when I stood on stage with other fathers and told our daughters that true love waits, that faithfulness matters, that integrity is everything. That ring that symbolized the marriage I'd held up as an example. The journal pages crackled when I opened it again. Good paper, expensive. The kind the women's ministry spent church funds on because it was for discipleship purposes. I read the last entry, dated 2 weeks ago, September 2025. Pregnant, Tyler's. Marcus doesn't know yet. We'll tell him soon. If he accepts it, fine. If not, I have options. Tyler won't want involvement. Already made that clear. But Marcus will do what's right. He always does. He's too worried about his image, his career, Emily's view of him. He'll choose the lie over the truth. I'm betting everything on it. She was right. That was the worst part. She knew me well enough to know I'd choose the comfortable lie, that I'd protect my image, that I'd do what was right for the family instead of what was actually right. And I'd almost done it. Almost. Saturday morning, I called Pastor Reeves, asked to meet. His house, not the church, private. He answered the door with that kind smile he always had. 62 years old, gray hair, eyes that had seen 4 decades of pastoral ministry. He'd mentored me since I was 26, hired me fresh out of seminary, walked with me through every step of this journey. Marcus, come in. His home office smelled like coffee and old books. We sat in the leather chairs where we'd had 100 conversations over the years about theology, about ministry, about navigating church politics, never about this. I need to tell you something, I said, and I need you to just listen all the way through without interrupting. Pastor Reeves nodded, folded his hands. I told him everything, the ultrasound, the dates, the keychain, Jennifer's evidence, the Instagram photos, Rebecca's ultimatum, Tyler showing up at church, Sarah's revelation about the pattern, Emily finding the journal, all of it. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he stood, walked to his bookshelf, pulled down his own Bible, worn, more worn than mine, 50 years of use. The pages were loose, the leather cracked. He opened it. Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." He looked at me, not comfortable, free. "I'm scared," I said. "If I tell the truth, if I refuse to claim this baby, I lose everything. The senior pastor position, maybe my job. Emily's devastated. My mother will be heartbroken. The congregation will split." "Yes," Pastor Reeves said. "Probably." "So, what do I do?" He sat back down. "Marcus, can I tell you something about my own journey?" I nodded. 30 years ago, I faced a choice. Similar to yours. Not an affair. Never that. But a lie. A convenient lie that would have protected the church budget, protected my position, protected a lot of things. He paused. I chose the lie. And it ate at me for 10 years. Every sermon I preached about integrity felt hollow. Every time I counseled someone to choose truth, I remembered my own cowardice. What changed? I confessed, publicly, lost some members, lost some respect, but gained something more valuable. He tapped his Bible. I gained the ability to live with myself, to mean what I say, to be who I claim to be. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, I said quietly. Pastor Reeves smiled. Even when it burns, especially when it burns. But Emily will respect you more for choosing truth. Eventually, not today, maybe not this year, but she'll learn what integrity actually costs, what it means to live by your convictions when it destroys your comfort. He reached across, gripped my shoulder. The truth will set you free, Marcus, but first, it'll wreck you. That afternoon, I drove to my mother's house. Margaret Hayes, 65, widow for 3 years now. She lived alone in the house where I grew up, the house we'd almost lost when my father's ministry collapsed. She knew why I was there before I said anything. "Sit down, honey," she said. Made tea. The ritual of hospitality buying time before hard truths. I told her. Same story, different audience. She cried, not loud, just quiet tears running down her face while she held her teacup. I'm sorry, I said. I'm so sorry. No. She set the cup down. Don't apologize. Don't you dare apologize. But you sacrificed so much. For my education, for my ministry. You cleaned hospital floors so I could go to seminary, and now I'm about to throw it all away. Marcus Jonathan Hayes. She used my full name. That meant business. I didn't clean those floors so you could build a ministry on lies. I cleaned them so you could be a man of integrity, a man who meant what he said, a man who kept his word. But Dad, your father chose the lie, and it destroyed him, and us, and you. She reached across the table, took my hands. I watched him lie from that pulpit for 2 years while carrying on an affair, watched him choose his reputation over his soul. And when it finally came out, the collapse was worse than if he'd told the truth at the start. Her hands were strong, calloused from years of work. You're breaking the cycle, son, she said. Your father couldn't do it, didn't have the courage, but you can. You are. She squeezed my hands. I cleaned those floors for this moment, for you to choose truth when it costs everything. It's going to hurt Emily, I said. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt. The truth often does, at first. My mother's eyes were fierce now, but lies hurt longer, deeper, forever. What do? You tell the truth. You stand up on Sunday and you tell that congregation the truth, and you trust God with the consequences. And if they fire me, then you get fired with your integrity intact. She smiled. There are worse things than losing a job, Marcus. Losing yourself is worse. Sunday morning came too fast. I woke up in the guest room, alone. Had been sleeping there all week. Rebecca was in our bedroom, probably rehearsing her own version of events. I got dressed, put on my best suit, the navy one I wore for important occasions, fixed my tie in the mirror. My reflection looked like my father again, but different this time. Not defeated, just resolved. Emily knocked on the door. Dad, can we talk? She came in, still in her pajamas, hair messy. She'd been crying, I could tell. I need to ask you something, she said, and I need you to tell me the truth. Really tell me. No pastor voice, no protecting me. Okay. Are you and Mom okay? There it was, the direct question, the one I couldn't evade. I looked at my daughter, at the young woman she was becoming, at the faith I'd helped build in her that was cracking under the weight of reality. I could lie one more time, tell her we were working through it, buy a few more hours of her peace before everything exploded. Or I could look her in the eye and tell her the truth. No, I said. We're not okay. Emily nodded slowly, like she'd expected it but hoped I'd say something else. The baby. Probably not mine. And you're going to announce it today anyway. Going to pretend. I don't know yet, Em. Honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do. She crossed the room, picked up something from my dresser, the white baptismal certificate in its oak frame, the one that had hung in the church hallway for years. Rebecca had asked me to remove it, said it was making her feel pressured. I'd brought it home. The frame was solid, heavy, glass front. You could see our names through it, Marcus Jonathan Hayes and Rebecca Lynn Hayes, parents. Emily Grace Hayes, baptized June 15th, 2009. The perfect Christian family. Emily held it. This certificate, she said, it's supposed to mean something. Parents bringing their child before God, promising to raise her in truth and faith. She looked at me. Was it real? Any of it? Yes, I said, my part was real. But Mom's, I can't speak for your mother. Emily's hands tightened on the frame. Dad, when you told me at dinner that love means keeping your promises even when the other person doesn't, did you mean it? Yes. Even if it destroys everything? Especially then. She nodded. Then, I don't know why, she just let go. The frame dropped. Not through it, just released it. The oak frame hit the hardwood floor. Glass exploded, not a crack, an explosion. Hundreds of tiny pieces scattering across the floor like diamonds. The sound echoed in that small room like a gunshot, sharp, final, irrevocable. Emily flinched. I flinched. We both stared at the broken pieces. The certificate was still intact, but the glass, the protective barrier, the pretty presentation was shattered. Hundreds of fragments catching the morning light. "That frame was always just glass, Dad," Emily whispered. "It was never real. The glass was just decoration. You and me, we're the real thing, not the frame." She looked at me. "Whatever you decide to do today, at church, I'm with you. Not because it's easy, not because it makes sense, but because you taught me that integrity matters more than image." She left. I stood there, staring at broken glass, at the baptismal certificate lying in the wreckage, at the fragments of what used to be whole. Church started in 2 hours. I still didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't go to church that morning. Instead, I drove to David Chen's house. David was a church elder, but more importantly, he was a lawyer. Family law, divorce, custody, the messy human stuff that happened when promises broke. He answered the door in jeans and a Sunday morning t-shirt. Surprised to see me. "Marcus, aren't you supposed to be—" "I need to hire you," I said, "professionally, not as a church elder, as my attorney." He studied my face, then stepped aside. "Come in." His home office was neat, organized, files in labeled folders, a wall of law books that probably cost more than my first car. We sat across from his desk. "Tell me what's happening," David said, so I did. Third time telling this story, getting easier each time, or maybe just getting numb. When I finished, David was quiet. Then he pulled out a legal pad, started writing. "Okay," he said. "First question. Do you want to save the marriage?" "No." "Clear answer. Good." He wrote something. "Do you want custody of Emily?" "She's 16. Court will probably let her choose." "They will, but we should file for it anyway. Show you're not abandoning your parental role." More writing. "The baby, you're certain it's not yours?" "The timeline makes it impossible. We'll need that documented, calendar records, conference attendance, witnesses." He looked up. "Do you have evidence of the affair?" I pulled out my phone, showed him screenshots, the credit card receipt, Tyler's Instagram with the matching keychain, the visitor logs Jennifer had found. "This is good," David said. "Concrete, dateable, multiple corroborating sources." He paused. "Do you have the journal Emily found?" "Yes." "That's even better. Premeditation, pattern of behavior, her own words." He set his pen down. "Marcus, I can file divorce papers by Tuesday, adultery grounds. Iowa's a no-fault state, but proving fault still matters for custody and asset division." "Do it. This will be public. The church will know. The congregation will know. Your mother, Emily, everyone." "I know." David leaned back. "What about this Sunday? Rebecca's expecting you to announce the pregnancy. Claim the baby. What are you going to do?" I looked at the legal pad, at all the notes he'd taken, at the architecture of dismantling a marriage written in neat lawyer's handwriting. "I'm going to tell the truth," I said. "To the whole congregation?" "Yes." "That's—" David stopped, started again. "That's brave and risky, and it might cost you the senior pastor position. It might cost you your job entirely." "I know." He nodded slowly. "Okay, then let's make sure we protect you legally. If you're going public, we need everything documented first. I'll draft the divorce petition tonight, have it ready to file Monday morning. That way, when Rebecca retaliates, and she will, we're already on record." He slid a document across the desk, heavy paper, official letterhead. "This is a retainer agreement. I'm representing you, not the church. Attorney-client privilege applies. Everything you tell me is confidential." I looked at the paper, at the signature line. "Once you sign, there's no going back. It'll be public. Everyone will know." I picked up the pen David offered. It was one of those nice ones, weighted, balanced, the kind you use for important documents. One more thing, David said. The baby, when it's born. Tyler will need to establish paternity, accept legal responsibility. I can help facilitate that if needed. You'd help him? I'd help the child, David corrected. Every kid deserves to know their father, deserves support, deserves truth. He met my eyes, even when that truth is hard. I signed my name, Marcus Jonathan Hayes. The pen made a smooth line across the paper. Good, David said. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, even when it burns. The sanctuary was already filling when I arrived. 10 minutes before service started, I could hear the worship team warming up. Emily's voice on the microphone doing a sound check. Jennifer met me at the side door. Pastor Marcus, Rebecca's looking for you. She seems tense. I bet she is. Are you okay? I looked at Jennifer. This woman who'd accidentally started this whole revelation by finding a receipt, who'd shown me evidence even when it hurt, who'd been quietly loyal to truth over comfort. Thank you, I said, for showing me the truth, even when it was hard. She nodded. That's what sunlight does. It shows us what's really there. I walked down the hallway, past children's ministry classrooms, past the church office, past that empty spot on the wall where the baptismal certificate used to hang. Rebecca caught me before I reached the sanctuary. Where have you been? She hissed. Service starts in 8 minutes. We need to coordinate the announcement. There's not going to be an announcement. Her face went still. Excuse me. I'm not claiming your baby. I'm not lying to the congregation. And I filed for divorce this morning. You what? David Chen has the papers. They'll be filed Monday. Adultery grounds, I have evidence. The receipt, the Instagram photos, your journal, all of it. Rebecca's face went through several emotions. Shock, rage, calculation. You're bluffing. I'm not. If you do this, if you go public, you'll lose everything. The election, your reputation. Emily will never forgive. Emily already knows. She found your journal. She read about your plans, about Tyler, about the exit strategy you've been building for months. I kept my voice level. She's devastated, but she knows the truth, and she's choosing to stand with me. That's ridiculous. She's 16. She doesn't understand. She understands that her mother lied, that her mother planned an affair, that her mother has done this before. Rebecca's eyes widened. Sarah told you. She did, about college, about the pattern, about how you thought I'd fix you. I paused. I can't fix you, Rebecca. I never could. That was never my job. The worship music started in the sanctuary. Opening song. We had 4 minutes. Don't do this, Rebecca said. Her voice had changed, softer now, pleading. Marcus, please, think about what this does to everyone, to Emily, to your mother, to the church. I am thinking about them. That's why I'm telling the truth. The truth will destroy them. Lies destroy deeper. I started walking toward the sanctuary. You have a choice. You can stay for this service, hear what I have to say, or you can leave. But either way, I'm telling them the truth. I didn't wait for her answer. The sanctuary was packed. 1,200 people, maybe more. Every seat filled, people standing in the back. The live stream camera was running. 3,500 people online. I walked to the pulpit. The brass microphone sat there cold, heavy, waiting. Pastor Reeves was already on stage. He gave me a look, a question. I nodded slightly. He nodded back, then took his seat. Emily was in the front row, next to my mother, both of them watching me. Emily's silver purity ring was back on her finger. I noticed that. She'd put it back on. Rebecca sat 3 rows back, arms crossed, face unreadable. Tyler wasn't there. At least I couldn't see him. The worship team finished. The music director handed me the microphone, literally placed it in my hands, warm now from the worship leader's grip. I stood at the pulpit, opened my burgundy leather Bible. The pages rustled in the silence, everyone waiting, expectant, for announcements, for the sermon, for the good news they'd heard rumors about. I looked at the microphone, at the switch on the side, the one that controlled whether this went to the live stream, whether 3,500 people online heard this or just the 1,200 in the room. I clicked it on, deliberately. The feedback hummed, that electric buzz that meant everyone would hear this, every word, every pause, every confession. 1,200 faces looked up at me. Emily in the front row, her hand halfway to her mouth. My mother with her eyes closed, praying. Pastor Reeves with his hands folded, supportive. Jennifer in the back with tears already starting. I need to tell you the truth, I said. The congregation shifted, confused. This wasn't how announcements usually started. About my marriage, about the baby some of you have heard rumors about what sunlight really costs. More shifting, whispers starting. 2 weeks ago, my wife told me she was pregnant, 8 weeks along. I was happy, excited. We've been married 17 years. We have a beautiful daughter. A baby seemed like a blessing. I had to stop. Breathe. But then I did the math. 8 weeks back from the announcement put conception in late July. And in late July, I was in Indiana at a pastor's conference, 300 miles away, giving a workshop on marriage ministry. The whispers got louder. The timeline didn't work, so I looked deeper. And I found evidence. Credit card receipts from Colorado dated 5 days after the women's retreat ended. Instagram photos showing my wife with another man. Matching keychains they'd bought together. And finally, a journal where she'd written about planning the affair, about exit strategies, about how she knew I'd choose protecting my image over choosing truth. Someone gasped, several people. She was right about that part, I continued. I almost did choose the lie. I almost stood up here today and announced a pregnancy and claimed a child that isn't mine. Because I was scared. Scared of losing the senior pastor position. Scared of disappointing you. Scared of hurting Emily. Scared of what truth would cost. My hands were shaking now. I gripped the pulpit. But a wise man told me this week, sunlight is the best disinfectant, even when it burns, especially when it burns. I looked directly at Pastor Reeves. He was crying. The truth is, my marriage is over. The truth is, I'm filing for divorce. The truth is, I've been living a lie, pretending to have the perfect pastor family while my actual family was falling apart. I paused, and the truth is, I can't stand up here and preach about integrity, about faithfulness, about truth, while living a lie in my personal life. The sanctuary was completely silent now. No whispers, no movement, just breathing. Some of you are angry right now, disappointed, feeling betrayed. That's fair. I'm angry and disappointed and feeling betrayed too. I looked at Emily. She was crying, but she nodded at me. Keep going. Some of you will want me to resign, to step down from ministry, to disappear quietly. That's your choice. I'll respect whatever the elders decide. I closed my Bible, rested my hand on the worn leather cover. But I won't lie to you anymore. I won't stand in this pulpit and pretend. I won't claim a child that isn't mine to protect my reputation, because we serve a God of truth, not comfort. And if my ministry can't survive truth, then it doesn't deserve to survive. I looked at Rebecca. She was stone-faced, fury in her eyes. I'm sorry, I said to the congregation. I'm sorry my private failures became public. I'm sorry some of you are learning about adultery and betrayal in God's house. I'm sorry. My voice cracked. I'm sorry I wasn't the pastor you thought I was. I stepped back from the microphone. Pastor Reeves stood, walked to the center of the stage, put his hand on my shoulder. The congregation, he said, his voice amplified by his own microphone, will need time to process this. Marcus has offered to step aside from the senior pastor election, from his duties, to let us discern the right path forward. He looked at me. But I want to say this. I've known Marcus Hayes for 16 years, and what he just did, choosing truth over comfort, confession over cover-up, that's the most pastoral thing I've ever witnessed. Silence. Then someone started clapping, slow, solitary. My mother. She stood up, still clapping, tears streaming down her face. Then Emily stood, joined the applause, then Jennifer, then David Chen, then others, maybe a third of the congregation, standing, clapping, but not everyone. 2/3 stayed seated, silent. Some were crying, some looked angry, some just looked shocked. The church was split, visibly, audibly, right down the middle on truth versus comfort. The board meeting was Tuesday night. Emergency session, 12 elders, Pastor Reeves, me. They took a vote, secret ballot. Should Marcus Hayes be removed from his position as associate pastor? Should he be barred from the senior pastor election? 8 voted to keep me. 4 voted to remove me. 2/3 support, not unanimous, but enough. However, Elder Thompson said, reading the formal decision, we recommend you voluntarily withdraw from the senior pastor election. Let Thomas Fletcher take the position uncontested. Give the congregation time to heal. I nodded. I agree. You'll remain as associate pastor, Elder Thompson continued, youth director, but no preaching for 3 months, no leadership retreats, no conference speaking, essentially a quiet period to let things settle. I understand, Pastor Reeves spoke up. For the record, I disagree with silencing him, but I respect the board's wisdom. The meeting adjourned. I walked out to the parking lot. It was dark, cold, October wind picking up. Emily was waiting by my car. I thought you were leaving, I said, when you walked out during the service. She smiled, small, real. I was coming out here to wait, to make sure you knew you weren't alone. I hugged her, tight. My daughter who was becoming a woman who understood that truth costs everything. The ring, I said, noticing it on her finger. You put it back on. Yeah. She held up her hand. The silver caught the parking lot lights. It means something different now. It's not about perfect marriages anymore. It's about choosing truth, about keeping your word even when no one else does, about integrity. She looked at me. You didn't protect me from the truth, Dad. You taught me what truth costs. That's real love. Not the fairy tale Mom sold, real love. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Rebecca lost her position as women's ministry director but kept her church membership. Some people sympathized with her, called me unforgiving, said I should have worked harder to save the marriage. Others called her out, said patterns matter, said actions have consequences. The church was still divided, but learning to live with division. Tyler eventually came back, signed paternity documents, agreed to partial custody, got some counseling, wasn't a monster, just a kid who made bad choices. The baby would know the truth from the beginning, would have support, would be okay. Emily was thriving, applied to colleges, still leading youth worship, still wearing her ring, still choosing truth over comfort in her own relationships. My mother was proud, said it every time she saw me. You broke the cycle, son. And me? I was sitting in the sanctuary, Sunday morning, early, before anyone else arrived. The empty sanctuary was quiet, peaceful. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, red, blue, gold, colored light fragmenting across the pews. Dust motes danced in the beams. The air smelled like old wood and candle wax and history. Emily came through the side door, surprised to find me there. Hey, Dad. Hey, sweetheart. She sat next to me. We looked at the pulpit together, at the brass microphone that had become a symbol, the instrument of truth. The sunlight moved, shifted across the sanctuary, fragments of color on everything. Do you regret it? Emily asked. Telling the truth? Losing the senior pastor position? All of it? I thought about it, really thought. No, I said finally. I regret the pain it caused. I regret that you had to see your family fall apart. I regret that our private mess became public. But I don't regret choosing truth. Emily nodded. Pastor Reeves told me yesterday they're reconsidering. The board. They want to nominate you for senior pastor again. for next year's election. Really? Yeah. He said the congregation voted. 72% want you to stay long term, want you to lead. She smiled. Turns out honesty is actually pretty good leadership. We sat in comfortable silence, the kind you can only have with someone who knows all your failures and loves you anyway. Emily's hand found mine, her silver purity ring cool against my skin, no words needed. The sunlight kept moving across the pews, revealing dust, revealing wear, revealing truth in all its ordinary, broken, beautiful detail. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, even when it burns, especially when it burns. Marcus and Emily redefined what family means that day, not who you're born to or who you're bound to by law, but who shows up when truth costs everything. If you've built your own chosen family, people who stayed when the fairy tale shattered, tell me about them in the comments. I'd like to hear those stories. And if this story moved you, if you believe truth matters even when it shatters everything, subscribe. I tell stories about the cost of integrity, the weight of secrets we carry, and what it means to choose right over easy. I'll see you in the next one. Outside, the October wind picked up. Leaves scattered across the parking lot. The sound of change, of seasons turning, of new things growing from old ground. Inside, in the quiet sanctuary, a father and daughter sat together in the light. Not perfect, not pretending, just real. And that was enough.